Last night, a beautiful two-masted schooner belonging to the Polish Navy moored up in the bay here at El Campeo. This morning, I went out and I took a picture of it before sunrise, just before sunrise. Just one image. And what I want to do in this video is show you the capture of the image and the post-processing here on the computer. I hope you'll enjoy it. If you do and you're not already a subscriber, please consider hitting subscribe. And if you're already a subscriber, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Let's go. Okay, so that was the photo shoot this morning. No talking. Basically, I arrived, set up, took an image, and then I just waited around to see if I was going to be able to get anything any better. But there wasn't anything any better. That first image was undoubtedly going to be the best one. So I didn't do any talking. I didn't shoot any more video. I just basically waited around and enjoyed the sunrise. And now I'm back in the office and I've loaded the image onto the computer and I'm going to process it, and you'll see what it looks like as I do. Okay, so this is the raw file out of the camera. It was shot at 200mm on the 70-200 lens. I shot at f5.6, which let me get 0.6 seconds exposure. Wanted to keep the exposure time reasonably quick because although the sea was very, very calm, of course that boat, schooner, would have been moving very, very slightly, and a longer exposure would have blurred it, and I wanted to make sure it was nice and sharp. So that's why I went for f5.6. Depth of field wasn't going to be an issue, and 0.6 seconds. I've done nothing to it other than, if you look in the history here, you can see I've imported it, and I've just done my basic lens corrections. Removed the chromatic aberration and the lens profile. So I'm just going to get rid of this history tab now, just to give us a bit more room. Now, I know that what I want to do on this one is just make it pop a little bit more. I want to bring out some detail in the silhouette of the schooner, and the histogram looks good. It looks like I've got the option to bring up some shadow detail there, and I'm also going to crop this down probably to a 16:9 crop, which I think will look pretty nice. So I've done the lens corrections. The horizon's level, so I don't need to do anything with that. So I'm going to start off. I'm not going to mess around with the white balance. I don't think it needs it. But what I am going to do is I'm going to bring the exposure on the image up. Probably a fair bit actually. Yeah, about there. The highlights are pretty bright and I want to bring those down. Do you know what? I'm going to bring them all the way down. Not quite. It's about there. And then I'm going to bring the shadows up to start to bring some detail back in. Probably about there. That's a lot of adjustment on both the highlights and shadows, but I think it works. I think there's an option to bring the whites up a bit. So I'm going to hold the Alt key down and drag the whites up. I know there's a light on the mast of the boat, so I'm not too worried about that little spot appearing there. Bring that up, probably about there. I'm also going to bring the blacks up. So I'm just going to bring that, because that will bring a little bit more detail out. Yeah. Vibrance, oh yes, we're going to put some vibrance in this one, quite a bit. And I think a bit of saturation. This is a bright, colourful image, so yeah, let's put some saturation in there, not too much. Don't like to put a lot of saturation in. Okay. I am going to crop the image, as I said, 16 by 9. Because there's a lot of sky up there, which isn't all that interesting. So let's bring that down to about there. I also think that sky could do with being a bit darker, so I'm going to put in a grad. Put it kind of about here, down to about there. Take the effect out, turn the mask off because I don't need to see the mask. I'm just going to bring the exposure back. Quite a bit, darken that sky in quite a bit. About there. I'm just going to lift the shadows a bit so it's not darkening those masks too much. Masks too much. Okay. Now, as I'm looking at this, the hull of the schooner is still pretty dark and in shadow. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use the brush tool to brush some detail into it. So let's go into, I think, a 1 to 2 view. Should do nicely. I'm going to take the brush. Okay, so I've got the brush tool. What I'm actually going to do, I'm going to put a bit of warmth in, a bit of exposure in, and I'm even going to lift the shadows a bit. I'll see what it looks like when I brush it in. I've got the auto masking on, the flow's all the way up, and I'm just going to brush in the hull. Like that, just brightens it all up. Just check how that's, yeah, there's no overlap there. Brush a little bit in and on these edges here. Like that, and then I think maybe even a little bit more on the front of the hull. So let's put a new brush, and I think what we'll do on that one is just bring the exposure up a bit, and the shadows up a bit. And again, still with the auto mask on, just brush that front bit in a bit. Just went over the edges a bit there. Just check the mask. Yeah. And then we'll come back out to the normal view. And I think that looks pretty nice. But the only other thing I think I might do is actually put in a little bit of a post-crop vignette. Let's just go to a 1 to 16 view, just so that I can see the effect of the vignette a bit more. About there, I think. And then the only other thing I need to do now is my sharpening. I'm going to leave my sharpening at 40, radius at 1, detail at 25, and then I'm going to mask this in like that. And I think that's done. Okay, so that's it. That's the final image. I hope you like it, and I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please consider hitting the thumbs up, the like button, and maybe giving it a share on social media. And of course, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know what you think. And if you're not already a subscriber, now would be an excellent time to hit the subscribe button. As always, I really appreciate you taking the time to watch, so thank you very much. And until the next video, bye.